Thank you, and thank you for putting this on. So what's new? Here's a little, okay, thank you. Here's a little strange knowing that in 1969 I was the older generation mentoring the younger generation. I can't figure that one out exactly. It's biblical kind of, you know. And I wrote down what I wanted to say because I wanted to think about it, and I think, well, I'll say it. Maybe it's a little sentimental and all that. And I knew I was taking a risk having three speakers ahead of me who probably touched on everything I was going to say anyway. But anyway, I want to thank the students from Ignite, Students for Economic Justice and Greater Issues, and who made this event possible. This was all done long distance, and if they hadn't been here on the ground, I mean, this just wouldn't have happened. So thank them. I thank them. Some personal stuff. I want to thank my wife Ellen for sharing my life and this event with me. Ellen is over there. And two of my children are here. Jesse and his wife Paulina. And Ray and her partner John. She can hate me, but she did this. Okay. And there's a guy sitting here who was fired at the University of Michigan the same time I was fired at Michigan State. One of those other few people, I think, that you could count on your hand. Julian Gindel. And Bob, who made this event happen. Without him, you know, impossible. And so I want to remember, first of all, the years 68, 69, 70 with you. Resisting the war in Vietnam, fighting racism, sexism, inequality, injustice, poverty, the disparity between the rich and the poor, the trashing of the environment, fighting ROTC right on this campus. Jim Thomas, are you here? He's the guy who went in with me to ROTC. We took a class, they couldn't kick us out. He made the front page. Ending restrictive hours for women students on this campus. In 68, these streets, these buildings, were the background for many hundreds, sometimes thousands of students, townspeople, and even some faculty members who stood with and who marched with millions of others in hundreds of universities, dozens of cities in America, in France, in Czechoslovakia, in Mexico, and hundreds of other places where people gathered to challenge the injustice and the violence that seeped from every pore, crack, and crevice on the surface of our world, our poor, wounded world. We gathered to defy our rich owners and our power-mad leaders. We were in the main nonviolent, although more than history books relate, we were violated, wounded, sometimes killed, a few of us by the forces of law and order at home, while those same forces killed 2 million Vietnamese people approximately and 60,000 American soldiers during our war on Vietnam. In 68, in particular, for a moment, the great mass of humanity seemed to be flowing towards some cataclysmic earthquake, some rupture with the old oppressive system. Some of us felt optimistically that we were part of the end of worldwide capitalism, a system based in greedy hoarding, painted with what we learned, what I learned anyway, because it was new to me, a facade here in the U.S., a veneer of tissue-thin democracy, even thinner today, I guess. In addition, at the same time, there was the spreading of something some of us believe was the alternative, the logical, humane, democratic, and sensible alternative, socialism, that came on the wings of hope, but sank before our sometimes too long unseeing eyes into forms of injustice that mocked its own heritage. In the Soviet Union and then in China, we saw a corruption of the ideals of the next possible kind of world. So in 68, these two rigid systems, socialism, sensible in theory, but corrupt in practice, and capitalism, corrupt in theory and practice. It's true. In 68, these were confronted by a worldwide contentious conglomerate of liberational spirit. And I'm speaking sentimentally, it was grand. It was grand. And I know the spin those silly students, those few feckless faculty members, those mindless, hapless hippies, those pinko un-American lefties, those pacifists, those no-nuke nuts, all blind to our own ridiculousness, all in sum a failure. Take History 101, I'm sure they'll tell you that. Do not believe it. Amidst the general improbability of our larger hopes came victories. Thank you. Thank you. Along with the successes of the Vietnamese military and civilian resistance, along with the unwillingness of the guys in our own army to keep fighting, we in our marches and our demonstrations did play a part in the ending of the war in Vietnam, because we became a cost too difficult for the system to bear. We controlled the streets. We did. And the state have secure state power. It must control the streets, but we did. Increasingly, we controlled the streets, the campuses, and most importantly, we were changing the minds of more and more people. That was a victory, friends. That was a victory. Now, I'll tell you a name. I don't know if she's here tonight. I wish she was. Denise Ryan was a student right here in '68 who announced that she would stay out after the hour of 11 on weeknights and 1 on weekends when women, all women students, were to be locked in.
For their own good.
For their own good. She did that, and she was brought to a student trial. There were demonstrations here for her and for the end to in locus parentis, and Denise and the students won, and you, if you're here, students, you don't have ours. The freedom students have in their own personal lives came directly out of the struggles like those of Denise Ryan and hundreds of others. That was a victory. You know, at least 20 million people, probably more, claim they were at Woodstock. Why? I asked myself, why do so many wish they had been there? Woodstock is in our collective memory, and I think it's a moment when we experienced, or in my case, imagined the pure joy of being. And who wouldn't want to have been there? A victory. Yes. Our culture was forever changed. Even those remote from the foci of struggle, merely watching on TV, were changed. So many lives were forever made more meaningful, no longer what we had been destined to be, cogs in a murderous, soulless, merciless, and boring machine. We found good work. Some of us here now in Reunion understand how we continued the spirit and practice of activism on into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, these decades, as Bill said, don't make much difference, just time moving on. And how still now work in schools, community organizing unions, social service agencies, in radical organizing on campuses. We are everywhere, still making a difference, and yes, still enraged by the depth and breadth of this repressive system, but as in 1968, still alive with hope. And our children know. Our children and grandchildren know. I forgot to mention my grandchild, Jamie, is here. Yeah. Our children know